Tonight's class will begin momentarily. Welcome back. I hope everyone has had a wonderful Passover, although it was definitely a stay-at-home Passover. I hope we were all able to enjoy that as much as possible with our families while staying safe and healthy. We're definitely excited to get back on with the daily classes, and we've got a lot of interesting topics lined up. For tonight, we're on to It's Time, which is a discussion of the Torah's message of the importance of time and the power of now. You see, time, it gets kind of flexible in some ways. As the joke is told of the yeshiva student who showed up at noon to the study hall instead of 8 o'clock in the morning. And the rabbi says, "Where were you?" He says, "Well, I was struggling with my negative side, with my lazy side to get up in the morning. I woke up on time, but it was a struggle. I wanted to get up, and my lazy side keeps pushing me to sleep a little longer, hit the snooze button, just take it easy, and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for hours." So the rabbi says, "No." He says, "What do you mean? Don't you see? In the end, I won. In the end, I'm here." So of course we understand that being here in the end is not good enough because the time disappears along the way. So we're going to discuss a little bit the value and power of time in Jewish tradition. And that's because in the season we are now in, between Passover, between Pesach and the next holiday, which is Shavuos, which is going to be in just about 6 weeks, is a time called the Omer, a time during which we count the Omer. And what that means is that when the Jews left Egypt originally on the first Passover, they were informed that they would be receiving the Torah. They would have the 10 Commandments and the divine revelation, the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai 50 days later. 7 weeks and a day, 7 weeks and a day later, they would experience this great monumental event. And they were so excited for this opportunity to connect with God and receive the once and only time in history of divine revelation to an entire nation to communicate God's will for mankind. They were so excited, they were so drawn to it, they were so overwhelmed that they actually counted down the days. Each day that passed, they said, well, we're counting down till the 50. 1 day gone, 2 days gone, we're getting there. Counting, and not only counting, but preparing, working within themselves, upgrading, getting ready for the monumental event. So this period in between Pesach, Passover, and Shavuot is called the counting of the Omer, when we do this count from day to day till Shavuot. And this is not only what the Jews did, as we could say, by their own initiative at that time, but this is actually recorded as a mitzvah in the Torah, where the Torah instructing us to do this count each and every year from the second day of Passover. And let's read that inside. So you shall count for yourselves from the day after the day of rest, the day after the Pesach holiday, from the day on which you will bring the Omer wave offering, which is the offering brought in the temple on that day. 7 complete weeks they shall be, until the day after the 7th week, which will be the 50th day. You shall count 50 days, and you shall bring a new meal offering to God. On the 50th day, the holiday, when a new offering is brought. So we now have the mitzvah, not just the voluntary counting that Jewish people did, but the mitzvah to count each and every year between Passover and Shavuos. Now, this makes for something very unique and actually strange, because what we're doing here is counting the actual days, not what we do on the days, not what we get on the days, not who we meet on the days themselves. And that's strange, because we usually count things. We have 2 of this and 3 of that, and hopefully we should all have many more. People like to count the things that they have, the things that they like. Some people like to count money. Other people would rather not count what's going on with their finances. But we usually count things, we usually count items, we usually count tangibles. Or we might count achievements. We might measure things that were accomplished, things that were done, or anything else that we do with which we fill our days. But to count the very days themselves, to count a day just because it was a day 1, day 2, day 3, what kind of value would that have? Why would we count the day just as a day? But actually, our doing so and our counting each and every day, so today was the 10th day of the count, that means that tomorrow we count the next number and the next number, and each and every day, just by virtue of its being, counting that as a day, demonstrates the value inherent in each and every day and in the value inherent in each and every unit of time. So people say that time is money. But actually, in Jewish tradition, time is a lot more than money. There's an old saying, and its original source is not that clear, but it's almost a Jewish proverb from generations, that Adam doeg al damav ve'eno doeg al yamav. A person is concerned regarding his money, which in the Hebrew damav is very similar to the word yamav, which means days. A person is concerned regarding his money, regarding his dollars and cents, and not concerned regarding his days. And as the saying goes on to go, that's a foolish mistake. Because damav inam ozrim, his money will not help him ultimately. The yamav inam chozrim, and his days will never return. So people are concerned and very careful not to lose or waste or be deprived of some of their money. But when it comes to time, when it comes to days, we're kind of easy to let them go. And this is actually demonstrated in a bit of a unfair way, shall we say. But if we tell the average person that they are faced with 2 choices, they must choose between the 2, either pay out X amount of money, say $1,000, or waste a day, spend that day doing absolutely nothing, waste a day. Most people would choose to waste the day rather than pay out the large payment. In other words, choosing money over time. But as the proverb continues, that's a mistake, because money will not help and time will never return. So the first point really we can make here about the value of time and the inherent importance of time is that everything else we can catch up on. If we miss something, if we didn't do something well, we have a Jewish principle of tshuva, of repentance. We can correct our mistake. We can do better next time. We can move forward. We can move onward. We can improve. But when it comes to time, we can't replace the time. So if the time has been misused or wasted, we cannot get a new time to replace that. The next hour and the next day and the next week is its own unit of time worthy of its own use. We can never catch up on the time that was missed. And therefore, the Kabbalah says that a human soul on entering this world is given a certain amount of time. And each unit of time, each day, is like a garment, is like one tool with which the soul can operate, and one garment with which the soul can enclose itself and upgrade and elevate itself to the time when it will once again leave this world. And if it misses a day, it's missing one such garment, it's missing one such achievement that it was supposed to achieve, and that can never really be replaced. We try to stick in as much as we can on the other days, but we can never really catch the day that's gone. So that's really about what we could achieve in the time and the value of the time because of what it can do, and how we should be careful and watch over that time, actually more than our finances, because it can never return. But it turns out that in Jewish tradition, it's not only about how we can use the time, but something about the time itself. Now, what does that mean? So, a strange question, a tragic type of question, was posed to a Jewish sage some hundreds of years ago, a man named Ridvaz, or David ben Zimra. So at that time in Europe, you unfortunately had a phenomenon of Jews being arrested and sentenced to long periods of incarceration for such things as unpaid debts or other things which we would not consider a reason for such harsh treatment. But unfortunately, that's what was going on. And one particular Jew is languishing in the dungeon of some landlord who, for whatever reason, administered that kind of punishment. And he had been begging and pleading and trying whatever he could to get some time on leave from his imprisonment so he can fulfill some Jewish traditions, so he can do some mitzvahs which were impossible to do in this dungeon. Well, the landlord, the little tyrant, finally gave in and said, "You can have 1 day. 1 day we'll let you out. The next day you're back here to continue your sentence." And now he had a new problem. Which day should he choose? Should he choose Yom Kippur so he could spend the day in the synagogue? Should he choose Passover so he could do the Seder with his family? Should he choose some other day? If he's out to perform a mitzvah, he's out to do something special, which day should he choose? 1 day, that's all he can get. So the question was asked of this great Rabbi David ben Zimra, a noted scholar at that time and really till today, which day should this fellow choose? And the rabbi, interestingly, said that, to me, this is not a question at all. He should grab the first possible day on which he'll be able to perform a mitzvah that he cannot perform while imprisoned. He should grab the first possible day that comes up where he can do something, do an extra mitzvah, do that something special, have that extra divine connection that he cannot have where he is right now. Because each and every day is valuable, and we're not going to wait and count and look for some other valuable day coming up. We need to grab them as they come. This reminds us of a teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, founder of Hasidism, who says, Lo yaniach shum yom, a person should not let a day pass by without fulfilling a mitzvah. Now that's a bit strange, because arguably we perform many mitzvahs each day. It's built into our practice. But somebody who's not doing very many mitzvahs for whatever reason, and he does a mitzvah each day, what's going to happen if he skips today and does 2 tomorrow? It will be the same net, total of mitzvahs at the end. What's the importance of having a mitzvah each and every specific day? So, of course, we know that it's good for habit, it's good for routine, it's good for reinforcement, it's good to keep a steady, consistent schedule and a habit of doing those mitzvahs. It builds it into you, it ingrains it, it becomes easier, it becomes stronger. So that's one good reason to make sure to do it each and every day and not catch up by doing 2 tomorrow. But there's actually more to this. There's more to this, and that is the value of the day itself, the value of the time itself. Because we were put here as humans, as Jews, we were created, we were brought to this world. Our souls came here on a mission. We're here to change, we're here to elevate, we're here to make this world a better place. We're here to do mitzvahs, we're here to do good, we're here to share, we're here to spread goodness around us and leave this world better than when we came into it. Make this world more of the godly place, more of that messianic place that it's meant to be and that we hope and pray will reach each and every day. But we're not only here to change the environment around us and to improve and inspire and upgrade the environment and the community around us, but actually time itself. And what that means is that time is not just a convention. It's not just something that people use to measure its passage for technical or convenience purposes, but it's an actual creation of God. So we're used to looking at three dimensions of space. The space, the world around us, the physical objects have three dimensions of the actual space, three dimensions of the things that fill the space. Or we think of ideas, not in terms of their dimensions. But time doesn't seem like anything at all. Time just seems like a measurement. Time is just a measurement, a figurative reality that people seem to have just invented to measure its passage and to cut down into those units. But it doesn't seem to be a real being. But actually, in Jewish thought, we talk of three dimensions, three much broader dimensions, three realities. And these are Olam, Shana, and Nefesh. Olam meaning world or space, the physical space around us, the things that take up space, the space of the planet, the space of the universe. Shana meaning year, which is time, year signifying the passage of time in general, and nefesh meaning soul, which is the human, the being that's within that space and time. So we have three general categories, three general realities interplaying with each other. The physical space we're in, and that the objects are in and that they take up space. The being that's in them, but also the time that's ticking by as we are in, as the human is in the space. God created all three. God created the human and all beings, and the space that we're in, and the time in which all of this takes place. That itself is a creation of God as well. And the human being is charged with upgrading and elevating and enhancing and improving the space, the environment of the world around him or her within the time that's available, but actually not only to elevate the space within the time, but to elevate the time itself as a creation of God, as something which can be improved, which can be enhanced by using it positively. So the time itself, the units itself, the days themselves, they are also a reality. They also should be treasured and enhanced and used wisely. So when we count the Omer, we count each and every day, because each and every day is actually a matter of substance. It's not just a time in which to see how much we've progressed in impacting or manipulating the world around us, but it's actually a unit of God's creation that in itself should be invested in and upgraded and enhanced. By counting each and every day at this time of the year, we remember that, we calculate that, and we remind ourselves how we should treasure each and every day, each and every hour, and each and every moment. So time itself is a reality. Let's not leave any of it behind. Now, that might be something that some of us are struggling with right now, with most of us totally off schedule, not able to work as we usually do, school as usual, everything upended, and everything confused and upside down. It may be a struggle to productively use the time the way we usually do. But let's the counting of the Omer be our reminder of the value of time, both for its achievement and its own inherent value. Tomorrow, we'll get back together at the same time and same place, meaning same Facebook page, same YouTube channel, and we'll be discussing China. And that is, with all this speculation going on, I'm not going to give an opinion on that, but all the speculation of whether mismanagement or cover-up or any other misbehavior by the Chinese made this crisis worse than it had to be, or even some talk of it originating somewhere in a lab. For all this talk, imagine some of it or all of it is true. In that hypothetical, what would the Torah say? Would China be liable for such a thing? Would the Torah hold an actor or a country or any entity liable for mismanagement or for an accident that caused a virus to run loose across the globe and cause so much damage? Is there a liability there? What does Jewish law say? We're going to talk about that tomorrow, 8 o'clock, right here on this Facebook page and on this YouTube channel. Should China pay? Have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow.